I'm sure everyone saw the Sam Long and Lionel Sanders finish at St. George the other day. Just nod if you did. I thought that was pretty exciting. Haven't seen something like that for a while at that distance. But I suppose what I wanted to ask, and this is just across all distances, Dave, it doesn't have to be Ironman or 70.3. Who are the male and female athletes that are really exciting you at the moment? You obviously might have seen them at races or on a coverage somewhere, but who's really caught your eye over the last, say, year or two?
Well, you mentioned those first two, and Sam lives here in Boulder, went to school with my daughter, so I know him and kind of watched his climb a little bit. And I think he did make a tactical error at the end where he kind of went for that water bottle, and then Lionel gapped him. I think one thing to look at when you go back and look at that video is take a look at, I think it's Lionel's right leg. He has no hip extension on his right leg. And you look at the float, a knee flexion that he has as he lifts his foot off the ground, because people will say, gosh, he has a funny running style. Lionel's an animal. He's remarkable, and he's won a lot of races, and he is the grittiest guy, one of the grittiest guys out there. And I think Sam has obviously the same tenacity, but he doesn't have good hip extension. So I just want to put that in. Let me answer your question, Joe.
Dave, can I just dovetail on that? Because my daughter's not a runner, and she's sitting and watching. We watched that last 5K that Lionel posted, and as he's running next to Ditlev, my daughter is like, wow, that guy in the yellow's got beautiful form. And poor Lionel, right? He's got that hitch because he's always had that hitch. And then Sam comes along and she's like, wow, Sam's got beautiful form. Again, Lionel's just like you said, he's able to run amazingly fast despite his not great form. And when you see him against guys who have tremendous form, it's a head scratcher.
Well, I think, Lionel's kind of at his capacity right now. He's done a lot of 111s off the bike, which is sensational, all different, very difficult courses. But until he gets his glute strength, and I've talked to him about it, and I actually sent him a program several years ago after he was 24th in Hawaii. I don't know what year that was, or somewhere around there. He just doesn't have hip extension, and consequently, he has that sort of uncanny looking gait, but he's not running as fast as Javier Gomez. And Joe, I think Javier was a brilliant athlete. I don't know if he's over his prime right now. Alistair Brownlee, I love watching him, and he's got all the tools. I think he's trying for the Olympics again. Jan Frodeno's obviously proven himself, and he's very, very confident, which I like to see. Those men, I think Sam Long, with Jeff, you were just alluding to, when Sam first started running, he was so shockingly bad. I saw him doing the 70.3 in Boulder, and I said, oh my gosh, he's never going to be able to improve that. And he was flowing in that race, even though he got second, his running form has really come around. Those are kind of the men. I think you have to look at Daniela Reef. She's amazing, phenomenal record. I kind of like to look at the fast runners, and I'm not sure. Daniela had a remarkable run in Ironman South Africa. I think she was 116 high, and but she hasn't run well in Kona. I think Annie Haug is someone to watch out for. She comes from Olympic distance, has transferred up to 70.3, and I think she's something else. Emma Pallant, I think, is quite talented as well. She's a great runner. So I kind of look at, are they losing much on the bike, and can they come back on the run? And your comment, Joe, just about any distance. Well, the distances are different, because if you look at Olympic distance, you're not going to have Sam Long do anything in Olympic distance. He's going to lose too much time on the swim. But he's darn tough in the 70.3, and I think he could be very good in the Ironman distance. So a lot of the athletes that had this top end from the ITU series, and we see both men and women, they're the ones to watch.
So person from a male perspective that I've got to meet and spend a little bit of time with, obviously through Super League, is Gustav Eden.
Yeah. And
he's just, I think at that 70.3 level, he's nearly the perfect athlete. Where at a Super League, it's obviously super sprint. he tends to, I don't think he has the swim to add a super sprint, because there's some great swimmers there, but he's just an amazing athlete. But it was just been interesting to see his rise going from, and he'll do any distance at the moment, and for him to do so well the last couple of big races at a 70.3, obviously Daytona and the world champs the year before, just incredible. And are we going to see more of these ITU athletes come through and start to go more long at a younger age?
I think it comes back to, people think longer is better. And I watched Gustav Iden. I saw him race in 70.3 Worlds in Nice, and he's beautiful. He's an amazing athlete, and I chatted with him, and he is one to watch. I get this question every year in Ironman Kona, who's going to win? And I don't like the question. I think it's somewhat disparaging to some of the athletes to, we can all look at the record and say, well, that's the woman to watch, or that's the guy to watch. And yeah, look at the record. And Gustav Iden is a good example. But I think when we get down to the big world championships and who's going to win, I think the numbers are quite small. I usually say there's only 3 or 4 people that know how to win at the top level, and knowing how to win when everything is on the line, and that hasn't really changed over the years. It's just a handful. Well, they can say, well, they won Ironman, this and that. And I said, no, but they're not going to be able to win this one. So I'm pretty coarse and callous about that. And there's been a lot of athletes that just want to kind of hang on the bike, but they don't have the run skills. And I think, you're a good cyclist, get away from that group.
Yeah.
And, I've seen this in many, many races. So you've got to kind of exploit your talents and have the confidence to do it.